Crusher Comics. Come get some.
Oh yeah. Saw Ready Player One last night. Oh my god. For starters, it's awesome. It's not perfect, but it's awesome. If you like myself are big fans of movie references or Easter eggs or Easter egg hunting, this movie is for you. It has tons of all of that and some. Wow. But yeah, I was gonna do this review last night when I got home, but I got home a bit late, so I was like, you know what, I'll do it tomorrow. And I was like, I want to get this out as quick as possible, and it's almost noon, because later on, probably around 5 o'clock, I'm going to be meeting up with my cousin, and I'm going to be seeing it again. And I have no problem with that. He's excited to see it, so he called me last night after I got out of the movie, and he's like, hey, you want to meet up tomorrow? Go see a movie. I'm like, okay, what movie you want to go see? He's like, I've been hearing about that Ready Player One movie. Well, he called it the video game movie. I was like, oh yeah, Ready Player One. I'm like, funny you mentioned that. I'm just walking out of it now. He's like, oh, you saw it already? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, why? He's like, I really want to see it. I'm like, hey, you don't have to twist my arm. I'm more than willing to see it again. And he's like, okay, cool. So yeah, so I'm going to be seeing it again today. But anyway, so that's that, and I'm going to jump into the plot first. But before I get to anything, I put this little picture package together, like I do with my movie reviews now, and pretty much it's just a bunch of the movie posters put together. But what was really cool about a lot of these movie posters for this movie is they're basically, like in comics, they're like homage covers. Yeah, they did a bunch of movie posters homaging other movies. And yes, I will admit my favorite one is the Back to the Future one. And I would actually love to get prints of these to frame and put on my wall, because, again, they just look super, super cool. Anyway, so I'm going to play that now. So you guys sit tight and check out these cool movie posters, and I'll be right back, and we'll dive headfirst into this movie review. Sound like Scooby-Doo now. This movie review of what is Ready Player One. Be right back. How awesome were those homage posters, huh? I mean, they had everything. The Goonies, The Matrix, Labyrinth, Risky Business, The Iron Giant. Hell, they even did one homaging Bullet, which looked really cool because replacing the Mustang was the DeLorean. And come on. And also Bullet being one of my all-time favorite movies. it's just 10 times more awesome. And come on, I'm sure I'm not the only one here who would love to own a couple of those as prints to frame on your wall, huh? Anyway, enough gushing over the movie posters. It's time to get down to this review. And as well, before we continue on to the review, I will say this to all of you out there watching. If any of you are like the purists and you really don't want to hear any word at all considering this movie until you watch it for yourself, then I thank you for joining me up until this part of the video. I totally understand if you want to take it all in for yourself, and if you want to stop watching right now, well, be my guest. How many people on YouTube are you going to hear tell you that, huh? But for those of you out there who, seen it already and you're ready to hear someone else talk about it, or you just don't care and, this kind of stuff doesn't bother you, well, thanks for sticking around. So, first off, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, we're going to jump into the plot of the movie. So, it is as follows. In a future where the population is obsessed, and I mean obsessed, with a virtual reality world called Oasis, a young man played by actor Ty Sheridan, who a lot of you may remember played the role of Cyclops in X-Men Apocalypse, and as well the upcoming Dark Phoenix, I'm assuming. And his friends try to outsmart the machinations of an evil corporation which looks to solve 3 hidden puzzles within the digital universe, which would then give them complete control over it. Yes, for those of you who haven't read the book, basically it's a game, and throughout the game there are 3 keys that are hidden throughout this world, and the first player to find all 3 keys is given everything. They're given complete control over the Oasis. They can do what they want with it, so it's a pretty big deal. Now let's jump into the actual review. So for starters, hands down, there's an audience out there for Ready Player One, and certainly I'm part of it. I mean, Bernie Klein's book here was like pure catnip for fan culture. Perfect for lovers of 80s movies, music, and gaming. To some, it was, just a bunch of references tied together by a flimsy plot that seemed plucked out of the Matrix. But there was an art to the way Klein made his book so cinematic and evocative of the Amblin era movies it pays tribute to. So it's fitting that a big screen version is directed by head honcho himself, Steven Spielberg, the man behind so many of the movies Klein celebrated. As well, it's really a film only I think Spielberg could have done, as it likely took his kind of muscle to really navigate the licensing rights to allow the Iron Giant, King Kong, RoboCop, and frickin' Chucky, and so many more to show up in his film. And with Spielberg at the helm, it probably only took like a couple of phone calls, as in his 4th decade of filmmaking, he's still essentially the king of frickin' Hollywood. And it helps that some of the movies referenced were ones he produced or even directed, although perhaps in an effort to be a little less self-referential, some of his movies are, off limits, with him even opting not to use John Williams to craft the score for the movie, lest he celebrate himself too much. For all his power, Spielberg still comes across as impressively modest, But he's ended up doing right by Klein's book, even if for the sake of being cinematic, some big changes were made. The first third of the film is tremendously faithful to the novel until a twist about, I'd say, 45 minutes in brings Olivia Cooke's character Artemis into the real world. a move which gives her more agency and makes the romance between her and Ty Sheridan's character, Parzival / Wade Watts, easier to swallow. And I will say this, both are excellent in the lead roles and have great chemistry. Cook's performance is especially good under Spielberg's direction, and if you were to ask me, I'd say, yeah, I'd expect her to turn up in a lot more of Spielberg's films from here on out. Meanwhile, Ben Mendelsohn is cast to perfection, if you ask me, as the oily Nolan Sorrento, while Mark Rylance makes a very effective Halliday. And even if I'm not 100% sure, I buy him as a fanboy. Everyone else as well, including Lena Waithe and Simon Pegg, really fit into the world perfectly and make ideal big screen doppelgangers for their characters on the page. Now, for those wondering how many references Spielberg managed to shove into this movie, there are just too many to absorb, but from a video I watched last night, and I usually do this after I see a big time, like a Marvel movie or something, I'll go and watch it, I'll try and spot the Easter eggs myself, and then once I get home, I'll watch, some videos on YouTube where they spot out the Easter eggs for you, so I could see, oh yeah, I spotted that one, oh, I didn't see that one, So I watched the video last night when I got home, and apparently there were 138 Easter eggs crammed into this movie, and probably a bunch more that we still haven't discovered. Yeah, so there's a lot. I mean, with everything from the glaive in Crawl to an extended tribute to The Shining, which really got me, being an essential part of the film. I mean, and Alan Silvestri's score also has some great references to his own Amblin work, but for those of you who are worried about spoilers, don't worry, I won't spoil them here, so you're safe. As well, my only issue, yes, as I said, it's not 100%, my only issue with Ready Player One is the same one I actually had with the book. And that is, if you strip away all the references, what are you left with? There are so many call-outs to iconic films that it feels like fanfic, if you ask me. And I'm not sure that when it comes down to it, Ready Player One, by virtue of how much it depends on nostalgia, can really take its place among Spielberg's essential films. I also dislike the look of the Oasis just because it just wasn't how I pictured it. But that's on me and not necessarily the film's problem. I'm just fanboying, I guess you could say. So while I'm not sure Ready Player One stands on its own as a distinct work, it can't be denied that it is what it is and is the best possible version of Klein's novel that, that could have been realistically done. Spielberg shows just how to make a movie like this hum along beautifully. And while I'm not sure it's one of his great movies, it's still a blast, like 100%. Spielberg obviously had a good time making it, and I think those of you watching will have a good time watching it if, again, you can keep up with all the non-stop pop culture references, this straight-up pop culture assault on the senses. So, overall, I'll be honest with you, after watching this flick, it scores high, but not as high as you'd probably think a guy like me would rate a movie like this. I overall give this movie a honestly deserved 8 out of 10. So, it's a great popcorn flick, and Yeah, like if any of you out there watch Kevin Smith's podcast, Fat Man on Batman on YouTube, him and Mark Bernardin, he did they did one a couple weeks ago, and at the start of it they mentioned that they went to see Ready Player One, and at a lot of the references that were on the screen when I was watching, I pretty much had the same reaction he did, where almost every little thing was a oh oh yeah, yeah. So again, very very well deserved 8 out of 10 score, but I highly suggest everyone out there go watch this movie. As I was telling some friends on Facebook, from all the overload of references in that, it's a awesome geek-gasm. Highly recommended. So anyway, folks, that's it. Again, thanks for tuning in to this review of Ready Player One. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, give her a thumbs up. If not, give her a thumbs down. And if you enjoy movie reviews like this one, well, take a look at the playlist I put together of all my other movie reviews. As well, while taking a look around my channel, make sure to comment on any video you like, because I love reading them as well as answering them. And also, while looking around, make sure to like or dislike any video you watch. Yes, I did say dislike because let's face it, no one's perfect, right? And then, when all is said and done, before leaving, make sure to click that subscribe button. Alrighty, so that's it for me. When it comes to the next movie I'm going to review, like I said, before doing this, I was going to review Red Sparrow, and I was going to do A Wrinkle in Time and everything. But I decided to scrap those two because I didn't want to get too swamped leading up to the big one at the end of this month. We all know, Avengers Infinity War. So, probably the next movie I'm going to be reviewing is going to be Pacific Rim Uprising. Like I mentioned in the past, I like the first one, so I'll be giving that one a check sometime soon. So maybe next week I'll post my review of it for you guys. Alrighty. So that's it for me. I hope you guys have an awesome rest of the weekend, and I'll see you guys back here on Wednesday for another weekly dose of lame comic book character goodness as well. Um, Probably trying to think. Probably tomorrow, Monday, I'll be posting my comic hijinks vid for March since we're in April now. And yeah, so got a bunch of stuff coming. Alrighty? So till next time, I'm Punisher Comics, and I am